Glad to stay with us. Nigeria has narrowly avoided a major economic crisis as NUPENG suspended its nationwide strike after reaching an agreement with Dangote Refinery. The strike, which began Monday, disrupted fuel loading and sparked fears of scarcity. NUPENG had accused Dangote of anti-union practices, while the company denied wrongdoing. Analysts estimated a prolonged strike could cost 15 billion naira daily, fueling inflation and crippling productivity. Following government-led negotiations in Abuja, both parties struck a deal with NUPENG ordering members back to work. The resolution restores fuel supply stability and averts a crisis that could have deepened Nigeria's economic challenges. And joining me for more on this is Femi Oladehin, Managing Director, Argentil Capital Partners. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
All right, Managing Director, that sounds like a new one. Congratulations, right?
Thank you very much.
All right, congratulations once again. Now, let me get your thoughts on the resolution reached by the parties. Did you see it coming and that soon?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think that we all know that strikes are not beneficial to anyone, maybe especially when some of these issues can be resolved on the negotiation table. What we continue to see, again, is literally a complete battle for the apple pie, right? Because you're seeing a major disruptive force in the Dangote Refinery that has come into the market and is basically disrupting supply chains, disrupting long-held, business franchises, disrupting long-held monopolies on the market. And you're beginning to see everyone trying to flex their muscle to ensure that they remain protected, given the entrance of this major significant player in the market. And I think that what we've seen in the last 48 hours is again the power of corporate Nigeria and probably to a larger extent the power of the government to be able to weigh on both parties when these disputes occur. Dangote's shift in position from saying that unionization was disruptive to the point where we are right now, where they're saying that, well, look, it's constitutional for people to be able to join the union of their choice is something that one can look at positively. But look, I think what we've done is we've averted a major disruption to economic activity in a period when Nigerians are groaning under the weight of economic hardship, and that can only be seen as a positive thing.
I mean, you talked about a lot of things, talking about, disrupting supply chains and all of those things, but I would like us to backtrack. What are your thoughts? I know you went there a bit, but I'd like you to speak more to that. What are your thoughts on Dangote Refinery's plans? Whether it is to roll out 10,000, initially we were told 4,000, but now we're hearing 10,000 CNG trucks, or its initial plan to employ, new truck drivers who would not join unions. Do you think that is monopolistic in a way? And then the lack of unionism, which he was pushing initially, do you think it also equates to anti-labor activities?
So honestly, you have to take a balanced view at these things. As entrepreneurs, our main objective as entrepreneurs is to make profits. Everything else is an add-on. And if Dangote's objective is to maximize his profit, why should anyone begrudge him that? And why should we say that because his major motive is to make profit, he must share that profit with other people? The reality is that the Nigerian market has changed. The Nigerian environment is changing. The global environment is changing. Diesel trucks are being phased out all over the world. That the Nigerian transport industry has refused to reinvest its profits in modernizing its fleet cannot be an indictment on Dangote. The reality here is that there is further impetus to the climate change issues that everyone is talking about. And if CNG trucks are able to bring down the cost of distribution as much as 70 to 80%, why would anyone begrudge anyone who's trying to do that to the benefit of the end customer? I think the bigger issue here is this. We've run an economy that has been very rent-based, rent-seeking economy where people create fiefdoms for themselves and try to, basically retain their control over different elements of the industry. The reality is that new entrants are always going to come into industries and they're going to be a disruptive force. And what proper companies do is pivot look for how to continue to remain relevant in the light of new entrants coming into the market, and that's where your ability to galvanize investments, your ability to save the profits that you're making, to modernize your investment, modernize your fleet, becomes important. So yes, Dangote has been disruptive, and continues to be so. I believe that eventually the Nigerian consumer is the person who we should all care about. And as long as the Nigerian consumer is not shortchanged by inefficiencies in the system that allow excessive profits, then we should be fine with it.
Well, don't you think there's a level of advantage Dangote sort of, enjoys? Deep pocket and maybe a willingness to bulldoze anything that stands in its way. I mean, we understand the market is deregulated, and I totally understand what you're saying. A business person, you want to maximize profit as much as you can. But if one player can restrict other players in one way or the other, isn't it a matter of time before the market is taken over and controlled by that individual or player? And then we get to that point where maybe we're back to square one, monopoly, one person controlling the market, controlling prices, controlling everything. I mean, he operates in the upstream, and now he's about to take over the midstream. Who knows, maybe tomorrow he's going to directly also take over downstream. And so these people are just saying, well, what happened to us? Maybe they don't have the clout, they can't get, the public cannot attract the finances that he can attract, or, things like that. And you're thinking about the future, what happens to them?
Perpetual. So I'm a capitalist, so it's going to be very difficult for me to take a contrary view to the fact that the market rewards those who take risks. And the reality is that Dangote has taken the biggest risk any Nigerian ever in the history of mankind has ever taken by putting $20 billion of investment into the ground, and he's hoping that he's going to make money from it. Now, the truth is that, look, prior to Dangote Refinery coming on stream, a lot of people had refinery licenses that did absolutely nothing with them. The Nigerian government owns 4 refineries that today are barely operating, combined capacity of 450,000 barrels a day. And somebody has come in, put their own investment in lock, stock, and barrel. And the reality is that they're going to become a market maker unless the rest of the industry basically pony up and put their money where their mouth is and invest in alternative solutions. Of course, it's going to be a monopoly. We've seen that in the cement industry where, he dominated, but there are other players there. And let's be clear, it's easy to look at Dangote and say, oh, he's a monopolist. Everywhere he plays is in a monopoly. That's not entirely true. There are several businesses where he's taking significant losses in his investments simply because he couldn't dominate those markets, and he's had to yield that space to businesses that are more efficient in the long run. Look, the point is capitalism has thrived in this world over the last 200 to 300 years simply because it delivers results. And when capitalism is fueled by a structure that provides capital to everyone, that provides opportunities to everyone, I think that's good. Now, when it comes to the protection of the consumer from monopolistic tendencies, that is where government has a role to play. The regulator has an active role to play in ensuring that fair prices are the end game in the market, to ensure that no person is locked out of the market either for political or other reasons. A fairness in the market, that's the responsibility of the government to deliver. So I would still say that, look, it's early days. There are other people who are building refineries at the moment. Until those refineries come on stream, we would continue to see a dominant player in Dangote. Until NNPC repair their refineries and put them in working order, we'll continue to be price takers from someone who has the capacity to deliver results. And if that's the situation we find ourselves in, the only person who can save us is the government.
Well, it seems, looking at all of this, I'm looking at NNPC and I'm looking at Dangote, and I'm wondering, it feels like Dangote is probably giving NNPC a run for its money. I mean, It's funny, but that's what it's looking like. I don't necessarily need you to comment on that, but let's look at this now. I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So what exactly do you think Dangote Refinery or Dangote is trying to fix in the midstream sector of, Nigeria's oil and gas? And apart from that, the disruption what you just talked about now, what would be the impact or the result of this disruption when it comes to full maturity?
So look, there are two issues. So the first point you made was the mainstream part of the industry. So understand that for Dangote to maximize his profitability, the efficiency of the market is very important for him, which means that he must be able to identify, replace, and fund any changes he wants in the market. So think about it this way: if you came into a refinery to lift products, and your truck is a 25-year-old truck, the efficiency of moving that truck from one location to another, breakdowns and all of that along the way, potential accidents, potential disruption to the roads, they add costs to a business operating environment. So as a manufacturer, your objective is to get your products to the end user in the most efficient way possible. So what Dangote is trying to do is to guarantee the efficiency of his distribution network by bringing in more efficient trucks. No one can begrudge him that. And that's just the reality it is. Now, when it comes to the end game, where do we see this playing out? I think that what is going to happen is that a lot of people who have invested in the midstream sector, trucks, distribution networks, are going to realize that those investments are not able to generate the type of profits they were generating before without improved efficiencies. And they would then have to invest the same way Dangote is investing. And the truth is that as competition becomes more intense, the end game is always that the consumer benefits, because it's the consumer that is able to benefit from the price wars or the price efficiencies that come as a result of those sort of competitive tendencies in the market. And I think that when you put it in the local context, what we should be expecting is that over the short period of time, that the market is going to start to see slight reductions in prices. Think about it. At some point, we were buying petrol for about 1,000 naira. Today, it's currently about 800 naira, 850 naira, thereabout, depending on where you are in the country. And the reason for that is both the fact that crude oil prices are slightly moderated, but it's also the fact that there's operational disruptions that Dangote has brought into the market to make it a more efficient market. Now, as long as you have that, I think that the market is going to be the biggest beneficiary of it. And the average consumer would only be happy that he has choice that wasn't available before, when all we were doing was buying imported products that we were not even sure of the quality of the products that were being put in our cars.
Well, interesting and well put, but I'm just looking at, the possibility of some persons having to lose their jobs because there is nothing left for them to do. Away from that, let's move away from this story. I mean, there are reports about Crude Oil Refinery Owners Association of Nigeria, that's Koran, asking the National Assembly to impose a 25% tariff on imported petrol. Now, according to them, they say there is a need for urgent protection from what they call dumping of foreign fuel. What do you make of this? We close on that.
Nonsensical. Look, again, the point is very simple. I've always had a problem with using bans as a way of, protecting local industries. There is one thing you learn in your first class of economics, even in secondary school, is a law of comparative advantage. At the end of the day, if the refinery owners expect that Nigeria should protect them, then they should go sell their products outside of Nigeria. I mean, it's a global market. You're not even talking about a product that can only be produced locally. This is a product that is produced across the world. There are refineries all over the world. Nigerians and people like the Refinery Owners Association. And the first problem is that everybody has an association in Nigeria. That in itself needs to be regulated. Yesterday, I heard there was something called Petroleum Marketers Association, the guys who own filling stations. I mean, the point is that these are structures that just bring in efficiencies into a market. And what we should be looking for is a market that ensures that competitiveness is fair. So if I can go and source products cheaper than Dangote is able to produce, why would you stop me from going out to go and source it? Why should government?
Mr. Oladehin, Mr. Oladehin, yes. I know I said we were going to close on this, but I need to point out something because they pointed to data from the Global Oil Pricing Agency, and it showed that imported fuel is being sold at a loss compared to its, delivered cost. And then there is also the other part that talks about, maybe there are substandard products and all of those things. Don't you think those are some concerns we should also look at? I guess you're muted.
Coming into the country.
Could you please start again? Could you please start again?
Okay, so I said there are two things we need to look at here. First is the losses, and the second is the substandard products. So let me talk about substandard products first. Look, if there are substandard products coming into Nigeria, that's on government. Government's responsibility through the Standards Organization of Nigeria, through the NUPENG, is to ensure that every liter of petroleum product that comes into Nigeria meets a particular standard. If that isn't happening, then that is on government, that is on the regulator. We should be pushing the regulator to do their jobs. The second bit is that these people are selling in at a loss. Look, the reality is that that's economics, right? But no one is going to be able to sell at a loss for a sustained period of time. Eventually, they're going to run out of capital and they're going to run out of business. So those who are worried about people selling at a loss in the local market at this point in time should understand that it can only happen for a short period of time. As long as our own refineries are efficient and they're able to produce the quality of products and the quantity of products that we can consume, as long as our products are of the quality that can be exported, we should be indifferent at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, Femi Oladehin, Managing Director, Argentil Capital Partners, for your time and your thoughts on Business Edge today. I mean, it's always a pleasure to have you around.
Thank you.